everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. I'm very happy to bring back Kevin Michael Estrella, who is the guitarist and composer of the instrumental rock band called Pyramids on Mars. Hard rock, industrial, and metal infused with lead guitar melodies inspired by the violin melodies of Baroque classical composers Bach and Vivaldi. Kevin's latest album, Cosmic Angels, is inspired by his visitations by extraterrestrials. Elements in all of his albums incorporate many things that have been taught to him by these otherworldly visitors, including, but not limited to, telepathic storytelling and the tonal language of the cetaceans and whales. Kevin has been a guest on over 90 UFO radio talk shows describing his UFO and ongoing extraterrestrial experiences. Kevin has always had a passion for UFOs and the extraterrestrials. He spent over 20 years researching to understand why they're here, and he wanted to combine his passion of music with raising consciousness and awareness of the UFO and extraterrestrial presence, which was always his purpose in life. This calling was affirmed on August 21st, 2014, when he had contact with an interdimensional craft of unearthly origin. Since then, Kevin began experiencing many other related incidents like incredible synchronicities, music downloads, symbol downloads through dreams, which is how he got the Neck Illusions DNA double helix design on his guitar, and increased telepathy. His musical downloads are discussed in UFO researcher Grant Cameron's book called Tuned In: The Paranormal World of Music. Many of Kevin's personal CE5 ET encounters are discussed in a book called Inviting ET by Sue Walker. Kevin has had many ET experiences with many beings in different dimensions besides his work with the Ponti, which are Zetas. Kevin is the host of Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio since 2016 on Artist First. He has a large network of friends, colleagues, researchers in the UFO community who are experiencers, starseeds, and Star Nation human hybrids. He now brings their stories to the Artist First network. All of the links will be featured below in the description. I want to thank you all in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. Even if you have subscribed before, could you do me a favor and go over to my channel and just check to make sure you are still subscribed? As I've received numerous comments from people saying that YouTube unsubscribed them and that they were unaware, and then when they found out, they resubscribed. And as a final note, YouTube and Rumble channel memberships are now available, so you can receive my perks and help to support my channel. So I'm hoping that many of you will become members of my channel, and I'm going to have a members only special coming up in the next few weeks, where I'm hoping that some of the members might want to come on and be my guests, and we can just have a discussion and a bit of a panel. Well, without further ado, let me bring on my honored guest today, Kevin Michael Estrella. Kevin, welcome to the Aliens and Angels podcast.
Hi,
how
Karen,
you doing?
Glad to
I'm
be
good.
back.
Yeah, nice to have you back. There's so much information to cover. It's pretty hard to do that in one podcast, so it's really lovely when we can get together again and continue. So I just want to say a quick hello to everybody in the live chat. Of course, Denise, who is my ever faithful moderator. She's the one who posts in the live chat all the links that people will want to see. And she also just makes sure there's no shenanigans. Although I have to say, we have had very few shenanigans in the live chat. The live chat is beautiful souls who come and hang out with us and everybody seems to get along really well. Say hi to AML, and of course, our friend
Hi,
Fearlessly.
Angela.
So glad you could make it today. And she says hello to everybody, and hello and welcome. So yeah, so I've just I'll stop and catch as many of you in the live chat as I can to recognize you, because I really appreciate the fact that you guys made the time to show up, and it really enhances the show. So last time we had Kevin on, we talked about the Ponte, and it is a substantial experience that a substantial experience that Kevin has had, but he's also had other ET contact as well. And so we're going to get into some of the more other ET contact that Kevin's had. But I thought maybe we could start off from where we left off last time. Kevin, what's new? How have you been involved with the Ponte more lately? And do you want to tell us about the memes that you've created on their behalf?
Sure, yeah. So, well, I've been working with the Ponte for 6 years. As you can see behind me, all the artwork here of Sue Walker, the lovely portraits we have of the Ponte. This is one of my favorite ones here is a new one of Judy sniffing roses at the back of Sue's house. That's a new one there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but one of the more recent things that I've been working on was I collected because we create a lot of memes of the Ponte for social media, and they're shared amongst a lot of people who are promoting the Ponte. And so these memes are actual real quotes from the Ponte, and then it'll have a portrait, one of the portraits of Sue with it, and then the quote from that person, that particular Ponte. So there was about
Mm-hmm.
40, at least 45 new memes that we made for 2025 that I collected. And there's a lot of interesting things that have been, were mentioned. And of course, they talk about protocols for telepathy and how to
Mm-hmm.
develop your telepathy. But they also, there's a lot of talk from Dell, who is their engineer, talking about their craft and the elaborating a little bit more on the consciousness of the craft. So they're skipper ships that they fly, which can usually fit about 3 to 5 members of the Ponte. Their
Mm-hmm.
ships have consciousness. Um,
Mm-hmm.
their ships when they are created, they are created in a different field basically. And of course, it's not only in a no gravity uh, environment, but it's also built in a dimensional environment where it takes on some qualities of different dimensions. And these
Mm-hmm.
craft are built
Mm-hmm.
in one complete, seamless, one piece. Everything is all one. And that's also something else to keep in mind to know what is a real, extraterrestrial craft and what is a man-made one. Is their ships don't have any seams; they are seamless.
Yes.
But
Yes.
also, yeah, but also the consciousness of their ships come from um, usually from deep sea ocean creatures from their own planet, and they ask if these ocean creatures would be interested in becoming um, a craft to explore the galaxies, and usually the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
and so so these consciousness will then be transferred into these craft. And Dell says that every craft has its own personality, its own likes, its own preferences in music, and
Mm-hmm.
also the craft, they eat as well. They actually eat organic food, believe it or not. And
Mm-hmm.
just as like Dell says, that it's taking care of the craft is more like taking care of a corral of horses, because the horses need to be fed. They also need attention, and they also have individual preferences. And he says, yes, our craft, they do eat things, and yes, our craft, they fart. And I guess they also
Well, there would
expel.
be a digestive system
They would
there,
have some
so
kind
that
of a
does make
digestive
sense.
system. Yeah, believe it
Mm-hmm.
or not. Like I didn't, I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea about this. It was absolutely fascinating. So that's something that we learned. We learned anew with some of these new memes. But yeah. Anyway, um, regarding the Ponte, I played a concert in just this past week in Toronto at the Imperial Pub, and I was speaking with Sue Walker, the telepath of the Ponte. I spoke to her on Friday, and she confirmed. She said, "Did you know that the Ponte were attending your show in Toronto?" I was like, "No, I didn't. I didn't know that." And she said, "Yeah." And Didn't you see the ship outside? And I didn't see the ship. I mean, it was raining, but apparently the Ponte were at my show, and they do love
Mm-hmm.
Pyramids on Mars music. They really do. I have concerts here in my condo, and I'm having one actually this Thursday. And what Sue told me is that those attendees who were not able to make the show in Toronto, that they would be coming to this to to here for this Thursday for
Mm-hmm.
this show. So, and
And
you know,
how do they attend? How do they attend, Kevin? Telepathically, or in 3D, or in
I think
what
they come. I think
capacity?
they come here in 3D. Um, but they're invisible usually, and I can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I will hear things. But they also have moved stuff when I've had the concerts, where I'd be in my bedroom, waiting for them to come in. I got music playing, and the lights are all low, and the couches are all turned around. We got seats and chairs and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where some of my crystals were moved on my desk, and some were placed down on the lower part of my desk while I was
Mm-hmm.
waiting. I also noticed
Hmm.
one time, because I had a chair that was sitting in front of my TV, and keep my TV pristine and clean, and I happened to notice that there was like somebody's back mark, sweat marks were against the TV, because I guess they were leaning against the back of the TV. So
Mm-hmm.
evidence like this that they have left. But the best one was one time when I was having a show here, and I went to my computer to switch to the next song, because I play along with the song with the soundtrack, and I play my guitar. And I look on the floor, and there is a black ribbon on the floor, and I pick it up and look at it, and I'm like, where'd this come from? And I eventually found out that it was one of the girl Ponte, one of Las Estrellas. To understand the Las Estrellas, that's a nickname that they've given themselves, the fans of Pyramids of Mars, because my last name is Estrella, which means star. Estrellita is little star, so they call themselves the Little Stars. So
Oh, it's adorable.
yeah. So the Las Estrellitas are the followers of Pyramids of Mars. It was one of those girls who gave me this ribbon. You want to? Would you like to see the ribbon?
Yeah, sure, sure. That's awesome. She left a little, like a calling card for him so he would know she was there. Sounds like a true groupie, whether it's
Yeah.
human or ET. Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's a pretty big ribbon, actually. To find that and not know where that came from, that's interesting.
It's like an apport. It just showed up on the floor. It's this beautiful
Yeah.
black silk ribbon, and it was given to me by one of the Ponte girls. So, and I have it. It hangs on my door. I cherish this very much, because nobody came forward about it, because it's against regulation for them to have done this. So,
Ah,
very, very, very special. So,
oh, yes, absolutely.
yeah. But
Wow.
but
So
I
they show up in their ship, and then they sorry, just trying to get clarified for myself. And then they can watch your concert, some with actually being there and some without actually being there. Is that correct?
well, no, they come in here. They come into the condo.
Oh, they actually do.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I understand they usually enter through the bathroom, so on the
Hmm.
far side of the hallway, and then they file in here, and they find a place to sit or place to dance, wherever whatever they can. And
Hmm.
uh, sometimes, like what what Ponte will do is that they'll also project consciously the concert to the other Ponte back at at the Sandia Mountain, so they can all kind of
Mm-hmm.
watch it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well, it's very, very interesting. Yeah, it's funny. I've had friends that are ETs. You have friends that are ETs. After having friends that are ETs, I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard for me to make a lot of friends with other humans because, first of all, when we're dealing in telepathy, there's no distortion, there's no deception.
yeah,
With humans, you never know what you're going to get. You could meet someone and think they're the most wonderful person in the world. Then you find out that they were love bombing you for another purpose or something. But I love the
yeah,
relationships with the ETs because they're absolutely pure.
yeah,
They don't have the same programming that we have. They don't have a shadow side where they have to hide all kinds of aspects of themselves. I find them
yeah.
much more accepting and openly loving than humans for sure. I don't know if you would agree with that. I don't even know if you've had any negative experiences with any ETs, but it sounds like your experiences with the Ponte is a very loving and very mutually supporting environment and culture.
No, like the majority of my ET contact has been extremely, you know, benevolent and and really really good. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah, I have to agree with you there.
I'm just going to read this comment by Fearlessly Phoenixing. She says, I thought project back, but said ship because I didn't know. LOL, love this." Yeah. So, what I really love also about your experiences, Kevin, is that you include culture and a sense of humor. The Ponte, many of them have, well, they have all different kinds of personalities, but
Hmm.
a few of them do have a good sense of humor. I also experienced the same thing, and not a lot of people are talking about it. So we got all kinds of people talking about abductions that happen. They're perceived as 3D, but they're probably transdimensional because often involves going through walls or ceilings or things like that. And a lot of people talk about their experiences as being very frightening. And I don't discount their experience at all. I believe it was just as they say. But I think if they had gotten to know the ETs a little bit better or had reasons to no longer be afraid, they would see there's so much more to them. Kevin, is there more than one ET group or race here on Earth, or are the Ponte it, as far as you know?
Oh God, no. There's tons
That's
of
what I
ET
thought.
races who are visiting Earth. In fact, actually, we only know about 25% of them because
Mm-hmm.
75% of the planet is covered in water, and
Mm.
there are a lot of aquatic star nations who come to this planet because this is a water planet. It's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very special planet. It was placed here purposely in this part of the galaxy, believe it or not. This is a water world, but we're poisoning our oceans, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
seem to respect that, and they don't understand why we were doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
but no, like there's so many different extraterrestrial nations. It's crazy, and I've been visited by many.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Ponte were not the first star nation to visit me. I was
Mm-hmm.
visited by a Reptaran, a Sauroid. That was my first visitation. I've also been visited by at least three mantis beings, a tall white. Um, oh, geez. Sasquatch have visited me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Umo, which are a human race from the Virgo system, they visited me. And some star nations have showed up who look just like us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure exactly, you know, what nation they are. I mean, there's one woman who visited me. The only thing that was different about her, because she had this wearing blue dress, kind of short, curly hair to her shoulders, but she had this marking in her forehead. It almost looked like an upside down question mark.
Mhm.
It was like this mark. It was in her forehead that was part of her. It was very interesting. I never seen anything like it. I've also had some
Mhm.
visitations from Star Nations, so I think we're using a telepathic screening to appear as another being. Because
Mhm.
remember the sitcom TV show in the '80s, Alf?
Yes.
Alf visited me.
Oh, isn't that funny? That
Yeah,
is very, very interesting because they knew you wouldn't be maybe afraid or
no,
you know.
yeah, I guess they decided to use a different kind of screening of something that I would
Mhm.
feel more comfortable with. I swear to God, I was sitting it was in a lucid dream state. I'm lying in bed and here sitting, on my shoulder, nearly on my shoulder, right here, looking at me, talking to me was Alf. I swear to God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's been my experience that ETs do not want us to be afraid. It's like they told Chris Bledsoe, "Oh, you don't understand. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you." And I think that they are so far advanced from us, but humans, we think we're the top of the heap and we think we're the big dog on the block, and it just ain't so. So I'm very excited to hear about your experiences with them and the diversity. I also have had experiences with them in great diversity too. And I was on your show yesterday. I was even talking a little bit about there seems to be an interplay between transdimensionals and even the ones that we consider to be of the fairy realms and insects.
Yeah.
I want to zero in a little bit on what you said about the cetaceans, though, because I have always suspected and felt true in my heart that the cetaceans are actually smarter, more intellectually capable than humans are. Look at the complexity and size of their brains. And yet, very little has been paid attention to them off and on in the past, but not really that much. And our group, the humans of today, we're focused so much on outer space, we don't even consider what's beneath the surface of our oceans. And like you said, this is a water planet. And so
Yeah.
there are all kinds of beings. But I want to know if you think there's an interplay between ETs and the whales and other cetaceans here on Earth. Do you see that as happening or has happened?
Well, the Pontiff they have explained that there are many star nations who visit Earth not to visit humans, but they go to visit the whales. The whales are much smarter than you can even imagine. I mean, we
Mhm.
know the Sasquatch can live past 10,000 years, and they carry vast amounts of knowledge of many different civilizations of man that have come and gone, and they can explain it, and it's well explained in the book, Sasquatch to A Message to Humanity, Conversations with Camus by Sunbow. I highly recommend people read that book because that is a 10,000-year-old Sasquatch talking about the history of the planet and the history of humanity. But the whales are just as much knowledgeable as the Sasquatch, but probably even older. And they are much older. They go back. They know the history of this entire planet, and it's carried through in their songs. So
Mhm.
when Tani and Thera were teaching me the tonal language of the cetaceans and whales, I was given an assignment back in 2018, which I still have not done. But it was three pods, three whales in a pod who were singing a song back and forth to each other. And one would continue the story after the other, and the other would continue like that. And they were all telling this story. And the way it was, as I finally understood how Tani was explaining it, I said, "Oh my God, this is like a Bach fugue in tonal language." And she said, "Because we thought you'd like that." And I'm like, oh my God, that is absolutely incredible to be able to, and they want me to write a song like that, doing the exact same thing
Mm-hmm.
written in tonal language, but kind of like a Bach fugue. So to understand
Mm-hmm.
a Bach fugue, it's like you'll have one melody that's playing, and then you'll have a counter melody that joins in with that melody at some point, where, and then another third melody will come in, but they're all kind of playing the same melody, but they're playing off of that melody. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
very, a fugue is one of the most complicated pieces of music that you can write, and Bach was able
Mm-hmm.
to, he could improvise them. he was he was brilliant. So
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
yeah,
Oh, that's super interesting. I just want to say hi to Vamp Skider, and sorry, uh, D. Biesca. Welcome to the show. Nice to see you. And I think there was one other person I wanted to catch. Daryl. I don't know if I said hello to you, Daryl, but welcome uh, to the Aliens and Angels podcast. So my guest today is Kevin Estrella. Kevin is best known for his contact with the Ponti, but he's also had all kinds of other contact and even contact with whales and an understanding of whale communication and culture. So I think all of this is, oh, I see. Denise wanted to know, sorry, I didn't ask this earlier. What was the name of the book you just finished talking about,
yes,
Kevin?
it's called Sasquatch Message to Humanity: Conversations with Camus. Yeah, hang on a sec. I'll go get it and show you the cover.
Okay, yeah. Okay, guys, yes. A couple of you have asked for the name of the book, so Kevin's going to go get it and show it to you. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I AML says, I love visits from the Ponte. I believe the more open, loving, and non judgmental we are, the easier it is for intergalactic races to connect with us. Absolutely. Oh, wow. Look at that book. So it's called The Sasquatch Message to Humanity. Oh, that looks like a fun read. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for showing us that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
this is a very important book. Very important. I mean,
Hmm.
it's Camus, a 10,000-year-old Sasquatch. He gives the entire history of the planet from when this planet was still Pangea, when it was one continent, and he talks
Hmm.
about the insectoid peoples, and yes, it gets it's a long, there's a lot of history to this planet, and it even gets into
Hmm.
the history of the moon and the beings, the insect beings who were on the moon, the destruction of the first moon, and then the bringing in of the new moon that was here, and how artificial it really is. So,
Yeah, there's certainly enough evidence of that for sure. Kevin, do you mind if I just very quickly play a 1 minute promotion for my book, and then we'll come
yep,
back? And I'd
yep,
like to
go
hear
ahead,
your
yep.
thoughts on Three Eye Atlas. I would like to hear what your thoughts, because boy, there's
My
sure a
thoughts on the
buzz about
Ponte.
that.
I'll tell you what the Ponte said. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, when we
I'll tell you
come
what the
back,
Ponte.
tell us what the Ponte said. Will just be a minute. Here we go. Learn about the stunning details of ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living spiritually, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors, introduces you to many different looking ET beings, the organic healing pods, the self assembling interior of the big ship, my ET buddy and the orientation process, cultural events like concerts and the joining of ships, as well as off world physical and non physical loving practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about ET origins, transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. My goal is to introduce you to the look, culture, intention, and technology of beings which are different than humans, in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so that you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy reading about my real life adventures and notice the things we have in common. So you will see that we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors is now available on Amazon worldwide. To gift yourself or someone you love, pick up your copies today. And we're back. So yeah, so you were going to talk to us about what the Ponte have to say about a three-eye atlas. I'm curious to hear this.
Yeah. So it was Radar who came on to Twitter about 3 weeks ago and explained that three-eye atlas is a type of it's a what do they call it? Like it's a ship. It's a train. It goes like a kind of like a trans. It's a what do they call it? Oh, it's like it is a ship basically. It is a ship, and it's going at the speed it's going, so that people of Earth, they're watching how Earth reacts to it, and how Earth reacts to it is very important to see. This is part of official first contact. This is part of disclosure of an object that is artificial and is doing some things that a normal comet would not do, and they're watching to see how Earth humans perceive it, and also what they actually will tell people in the mainstream media. And as Radar has said, don't freak out. But
Yeah.
the last thing they had mentioned, and this is stuff that you don't hear about because the government's shut down. The Ponte have already said that they're sending the what do you call it? The Space Force. They're sending their ships out to take a look at it. So yeah, we Space Force is real, and we have reverse engineered technology for the last 60 years. So, what you actually, what's actually is being used is not what they show you, because Space Force, they have ET technology that they use on their ships. So they're going out there to check out Three-Eye Atlas.
Now, this is sort of a weird question, but I'm quite curious what your honest answer is. In your experience, do ETs understand that the people running things here on Earth, first of all, that most of them are dumbasses and they're psychopaths, and do they understand that we, the people, actually might have very different intentions, motivations, and desires regarding ET?
That's a loaded question. I mean, they know who they're dealing with. They know who they're dealing with, and they're trying to, we're running out of time. Well, we're running out of time very quickly because of the Earth changes that are taking place, and the potential of an extinction level event. So they are trying to have contact without, without the people in control using it as an excuse to start a new world war against ETs, false flag alien invasion. The Ponte are very cautious of that, watching of that, and they're watching of how people behave. Also, at the same point, it's not that they're not they practice mostly non-interference, but they have stopped nuclear disasters. They've stopped multiple nuclear disasters, and they continuously telepathically monitor those people in charge of those weapons who are thinking about using them, because they will not allow they're not going to allow us to poison our planet. That's when they will intervene. So they're playing. It's a very, it's a, it's a Occam's razor that they are playing. Trying to make contact, but also the people who we are dealing with, the nefarious forces behind that are looking for an excuse to to fund their next, to change the planetary outcome to to make a one world government to fight a common enemy, because that's what they would like. That's what they would love to do. The globalists would love to consolidate all their power.
Yep, that's my understanding too. I included a chapter in my book about what does ET think of us, because this particular group that I was in contact with, very few of the beings had even heard about Earth or know anything about it. The reason is because, believe it or not, these beings, in my experience, were so peaceful and so loving, they'd be horrified to find out that we're blowing each other up, sending our young people out to do war, experimenting on populations with different medical procedures and scientific experiments, the gross misallocation of resources, and on and on and on it goes. They would be absolutely horrified. And so it's my understanding that we're somewhat quarantined as a solar system to keep us from not just infecting other worlds, but also from us hurting ourselves, or spreading the same kind of so-called rulership to other planets and things. I just wondered if that resonates at all with you, or whether, I guess the beings that come here, it's my understanding your Ponte group, they have extensive training they have to undergo before they're introduced to the human population. Is that right?
Yes, they study. They're in school for almost 50 Earth years before they're even can come to Earth. So they're quite, it's quite extensive what they study. And they also study our religions too, as well. But us as we cannot bring our ways out to other galaxies. We cannot bring our war ways to exploit other systems, and they're not going to allow that. They cannot be that cannot be allowed. So we still have a lot of
Yeah,
to do.
that's my understanding as well. I just want to say a special thank you to Denise. Oh, besides her tireless efforts to make the live chat nice and homey and agreeable, she's also given us another donation for $9.99. Thank you, Denise. It's very, very generous of you. Not expected in any way. Don't cut yourself short. Make sure you have enough for you. But I do appreciate the help and the support so that I can keep doing podcasts and bringing my content to everyone. So thank you very much, Denise, for that. So besides that, let's see. Well, we still got a little bit of time.
Yeah,
Kevin, do
there's
you want to
still a
talk
lot more
about,
there's still a lot more
yeah,
I
I
can
was going to say,
elaborate.
what would you like to, go ahead, go
Yeah,
for
there's
it.
still a lot more I can elaborate about the different star nations who've visited me. It's
Please do.
been
Please
quite
do.
amazing. So, as I said, the Ponte were not the first star nation to have visited me. Well, they did do the clearing, where they put liquid inside my head and cleared my consciousness. They did that, but I didn't see that. I don't remember the visitation there. But the very first real visitation I had was like in a lucid dream state, and I was I was living in an apartment at the time, and the apartment, my bedroom was actually above my kitchen because I had very, very tall ceilings, and so I had this loft, and it had a ladder to go up to my bedroom, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd woken up and I was just going back to sleep, and then I'm halfway asleep when I hear this ruffling. I hear somebody coming up the ladder, and I could hear my duvet being moved around. I wake up, and the sound is gone, and then I try to fall back asleep again, and then immediately I hear my duvet is being moved around, and I wake up and I realize that there's somebody here. And so the third time, like I wasn't scared or anything like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the third time, I allowed myself then to, fall asleep, and then it was almost like the person who was visiting me. Once I was like at this certain state of sleepiness, they were just able to kick me off the fence and put me into that sleep state. And so in the sleep state, I'm lying on my right hand shoulder, and I could hear somebody lying in the bed behind me, and they're kind of like settling themselves in, you know, and, and I didn't know who it was, and then they grab my shoulder, they grab my shoulder and push my shoulder down, and it's a female, reptilian, and she sits on top of me, and now she's like, she's on top of me looking at me, and um, she was quite striking, very beautiful actually. Um, she had very small scales on her, very small scales. They were light green, but then it was almost like trying to think here. It was a different color, almost brown across on the neck, and then kind of
Mm-hmm.
over these ears, like these. She didn't really have ears. It's just kind of like bumps. She had like a slit for a mouth, and kind of like a small snout, and but her head looked like a clove of garlic. So it was like bulbous on one side, bulbous on the top, and then bulbous on the other side. Like three cloves of garlic was what her head looked like, and it was quite large.
Mm-hmm.
And but she had hair like a mohawk that was like horse hair, and it was kind of hanging down to one side, and it was blue, very punk looking, like punk rock looking. It was pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
And and then she takes my hand, and then I looking at her holding my hand, and she has three long fingers and a thumb, and her fingers nails. She had claws that were like an inch, at least like this long. She takes my middle finger and she puts it in her mouth, and she starts sliding my finger across her bottom tooth, and it was one tooth, almost like a rabbit, because a rabbit has like one tooth, and it was razor sharp. And then I end up waking up from that, um, and trying to interpret what that meant. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it was absolutely fascinating. That was an incredible visitation. And then years later, I worked with a forensic artist, and we created a very good portrait of her. So that was an
Mm-hmm.
amazing visitation. I also had visitations from the Ponte. Usually, a lot of those would be like I could feel like I would be lying in bed, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling someone lying behind me, and they put their hand on my shoulder. I could feel them like that. There was one
Mm-hmm.
time it was three Ponte girls who came to visit one morning, and I could hear them come up the ladder. I felt presence of two of them in front of me, like I was in like a lucid dream state. But actually, I wasn't. It was not lucid dream state. It was a state between awake and asleep. So it's like I'm not awake, but I'm not asleep, but I'm not dreaming. And
Mm-hmm.
then I felt them, and I could feel the one behind me with her hands on my shoulder. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's one time where Thera, well, her picture's covered up right now, but I was feeling very sad one time, and there was one time where she just crawled into my lap and rested her head on my shoulder, and I knew it was her, and I just started to cry, and she was just kind of like consoling me. That was quite something. Um, Mantis visited me here in my condo about 2 years ago. I'm lying in bed, and once again, I'm in that between sleep and awake state where you're
Yeah.
not awake, not asleep, and I could feel
Yeah.
something on my left hand side, kind of like lying down, and I could feel a hard exoskeleton, something pressing against my leg, and it was almost kind of like the way it was almost like it was pinching my leg, kind of uncomfortably,
Mm-hmm.
and then I
Mm-hmm.
could hear in my left ear telepathically, mind you, I could hear this kind of like this insect-like sound, like this kind of weird sound, and then it was followed by these clicks.
Hmm.
And I've spoken with, Jacqueline, Jackie, oh, can't remember her last name. Anyway, she has a lot of connections with the mantis, and she confirms they do make clicking sounds. So I had that visitation. I had another visitation from a mantis when I was visiting a friend in Arizona, in Phoenix, and once again, like, it was a lucid dream state, and in this lucid dream state, there's this woman who's sitting on top of me. It was like a human body, but a praying mantis head. Praying mantis head, all green. Her whole entire body was green, and then the next morning, I told my friend about what had happened, and she said, because she confirmed it, because it was around 5:30 in the morning when this happened, and she said, I heard that at that time, I could hear there was two women speaking a different language. I could hear them in your bedroom. It's crazy. But I also got confirmation because a mutual friend of ours, Darrell Stokes, who happens to take a lot of ET pictures, and he takes pictures of orbs and stuff like that. And he was visiting with our friend at the same house, and he happened to photograph a green mantis being in her backyard. So when he did that affirmed of my experience of what happened, because that's what I saw in this state.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So sorry, I just wanted to say it's really interesting because even for me and my experiences, it took me a while to accept that these were real experiences, because they're so far removed from what we've been taught is real and what's not real. It's fascinating. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, actually, Fearlessly is asking, do you have a photo? Probably, I don't have a photo, but portrait. Do you have a portrait? Actually, I do have a portrait of one of the beings who visited me, right up here. So I'm going to tell the story. One of the most amazing visitations that I had was of in a lucid dream state, and she made her presence known before I went to sleep, because like I felt someone just gently touch my arm like that, and I'm thinking, oh wow, somebody's here. And so then I when I went under, then I was in this lucid dream state, and there was someone who was crawling underneath the bed sheets. I couldn't see them, but I could see my bed sheets were moving. They were crawling under the bed sheets. However, at that point, she had paralyzed me, and I was physically choking on the back of my tongue. And so she released me enough just so I could consciously tilt my head back so that my tongue was not blocking my throat, and I could breathe again. And then immediately she pulled me back into that dream state. And then she comes, I didn't know who it was. All of a sudden comes popping out of from underneath. And it's this blue woman with cat eyes. And she looks like a Ponte, but she's actually, I found out she's Arcturian, and I have a portrait of her. Can you see her?
Oh yes, beautiful.
Yeah, and she called herself Flaley. Her name's Flaley. She has cat eyes. Those are not reptilian eyes. Those are cat eyes. And I think we believe that she's Arcturian's peoples. She's a blended. I think she's part Arcturian and she's part Lyran, like the cat people. And it was an incredible visit, and it was short, but she and I put my cheek against her cheek, and then I was like touching the back of her neck, and she was mirroring what I was doing to her, and I was touching the back of her head, and it almost felt like this almost like a brick, like the way her skull went like that. I touched the back of her head, and it went to a point. It's almost like a football, the way her head was. I touched her
Mm-hmm.
arms, and she had like coarse hair on her arms, and her skin was very cool to the touch. And
Mm-hmm.
she had this beautiful young laugh, because I said to her, like, I said, "How did you find me?" Like, I can't remember what I said to her, but basically her response was, "Do you think all of your ET contact is initiated from yourself?" But it was, and I was like, "Huh?" I didn't understand. It was like I was getting her side thoughts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to visit, like, she visited me, and then I got to visit her again a second time, but the second time was she took me in my astral body up under her ship. So, and I ended up on this
Interesting.
massive, massive ship with 50-foot ceilings, like it looked like a cathedral. It almost had like Roman columns that were kind of coming around the walls, from the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself transported down this hallway at hundreds of miles an hour. It was so fast, I could feel the wind blowing past me and stuff, and I was getting really dizzy. Came to this big door, which looked like a huge um, ruby, like a big
Mm-hmm.
blue crystal, and then it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of opened up, and there was a smaller room in there, and I could see, beings like her. They were all wearing these white suits with this kind of red triangular shape on their chest, and then Flaley approached me, and then I gave her, we gave each other a hug, and then I ended up waking up, and I was back in my bed. So
Oh, incredible experience. I just wanted to ask you, thank you for that. I wanted to ask you if you had another portrait that was done by a forensic artist from when your other Fearlessly was wondering from one of your other experiences.
I do, but I
Or
don't
is
know.
that the one you were talking about with the blue cat-eyed lady?
Well, that's the one portrait there. That's the one. That's the one. I
Mm-hmm.
do have another one on my phone, but I don't know if I can share that with the audience.
Oh, don't worry about it if it's a hassle with technology.
Yeah, it might be. I might.
Kevin,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. We'll catch it next time. Next time,
Oh, yeah. I can send it
maybe
to
we'll
you.
talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
So this is all very, very interesting, because up till now, I have not heard very many accounts of people who have had contact with different kinds of beings. And I believe there are so many different kinds of beings that it's going to blow our mind. You said earlier that when the Ponte were telling you about Three Eye Atlas, I forget what it was you said, but it was something to the effect of, boy, aren't we going to be surprised? Do you know what they meant by that?
Um. Who said that?
Um, when you were talking about Three Eye Atlas, you said the
Yeah.
Ponte know what that's all about, that it's a
Yeah.
real actual ship.
Yeah.
And you said, I can't remember the exact word to use,
Oh no.
so I
Radar
may be
said.
saying it
Radar
wrong.
said. Don't freak out.
Yeah, don't freak out. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, because they are monitoring to see how we react, and
Mm-hmm.
they're saying to the military, don't make aggressive steps towards this thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shoot first, ask questions later. That's what they don't want to happen, because this is kind of a
Mm-hmm.
test for for official first contact. How
Mm-hmm.
are we going to handle it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that's some very good advice
The other advice,
because
the other advice was, they said for the Space Force, that if you're going to go out as your plan to go visit Three Eye Atlas, make sure that you read the telepathy primer, because they're going to try and communicate with to you via telepathy. That was the other thing
mm-hmm.
that the Ponte said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm guessing they are because now they have a psionics program. So they're starting the main, it's not really mainstream. I guess it's powers that be are starting to get the idea that if we just deal in the three-dimensional, we're missing out on so much, and that other beings rely on telepathy. And we need to learn how to do that if we want to be keep company with ETs. And after experiencing both spoken language and telepathy, oh my gosh, telepathy is awesome. It's really worth the effort. So I recommend everybody to download the primer and study it if you'd like to learn telepathy. And who knows, maybe it will help everybody in the audience to also have more ET contact. And I call it ET. It's actually probably transdimensional. Um, I just, for a word that most people will understand right away what I'm talking about, I use the word ET. Uh, some of them are extraterrestrials. Now, the Ponti, they've been here for what, 25,000 years, 250,000? How long have they been here? So, how can we call them ET? They've been here probably as long as we have.
The Ponti's records go back 136,000 years.
Well, then they may even have been here longer than us. So, we can't really call them ETs. What do you call them? Do you refer to them as
I call them star nations.
ETs?
Star nations
Star
is the name that the indigenous people have called them in their history.
Mm-hmm.
So, the indigenous elders and, like I learned from like Clifford Mahudi, they call them star nations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, star nations, or maybe sky people even. But yeah, so that's very interesting. Wow, we've covered a lot today, Kevin. I really appreciate you being on the show. But before we tie things up, do you want to tell people where they can find you and where they can download the Telepathy 101 primer?
Yeah,
Anything else, and closing statements, or anything you didn't get a chance to really talk about that you would like to share before we end the show?
sure. People can download the telepathy primer at www.officialfirstcontact.com. So that's officialfirstcontact.com. It's available in 17 different languages. So practice a half an hour each day for 100 days, and you will have contact at a level that you are comfortable with. So whether that's just looking up at a strange looking star that's moving a strange way, and you say, blink, blink, and it blinks and it flashes that back at you, that may happen to you if that's the level that you're ready. So, you can follow me at, my website's pyramidsonmars.com. So you'll find all my music there, links to all my different podcasts that I've done. So, those are the best places to follow me. You can follow me also on Twitter and it's like X, Twitter, whatever, at Pyramids on Mars. You can follow me there, and you can find me on Facebook as well. So Kevin Michael Estrella, or Pyramids on Mars. Pretty easy to find.
Yeah, wonderful. And so, what's your last kind of information you want to impart to all the listeners and the viewers, or is there anything you want people to keep in mind or know about ET contact?
Yeah, I would follow the Ponti on Twitter. It's at Sandia Wisdom. So, and if you have a question for the Ponti, jump on there and ask a question, and hopefully Sue can get around to talking to them, and they'll come on and talk. So,
Wonderful. Yeah, and so it's also on X that she's able to communicate with them, and
Twitter X.
she.
I keep calling it Twitter, so it's X.
Well, it's okay. You can call it whatever you want. We know what you're talking about, but basically, she's the spokesperson. She's the person who translates into
right.
words for everybody. Is that right?
Yes, she's the telepathic translator for the Ponti.
For the Ponti. Wonderful. Well, Kevin, I hope you'll come back and join us again. You've got so much to talk about. I've really, really enjoyed this podcast with you today. Do you know when the podcast that you and I did on Pyramids on Mars will be coming out?
Yeah, it'll be played this Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard on Pyramids on Mars, or is it under?
It's on artistfirst.com.
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 Wonderful.
Yeah.
So for those of you who can make it to the show. So that's about it for today. I want to thank everybody, whether you're here in the live chat, whether you're watching a replay, or whether you're watching on an audio platform. It's been very nice to have you join us. And of course, Kevin, thank you so much for being my honored guest today.
Yeah.
And we'll be back on Wednesday again for the Quantum Guide Show, and hope you all can make it. And with that, I guess we'll just say goodbye for today and take care, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.